Welcome to the regular meeting of Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee for April 16th, 2024. My name is Jeremiah Ellison, and I'm the vice chair of this committee, but I will be chairing the meeting today as Councilmember Osmond was not able to be here. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Cashman is absent. Jenkins.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Chair Ellison.
Here.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum, and Councilmember Cashman did let me know that she was not able to make it and is out sick today, so wishing her a speedy recovery. Today's agenda is before us, and we have 10 items on the consent agenda that are listed as items 4 through 13. Item 4 is the liquor license approvals. 5 is the liquor license renewals. 6 is the gambling license renewals. 7 is forgiveness of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund debt on the Dundry. 8 is development terms amendments for Baldwin Square, the Baldwin Square project at 4140 through 4146 Fremont Avenue North side. Number 9 is applications for environmental grant funding in the spring of 2024 Brownfield Grant Round. 10 is a contract with Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid for legal services to support low-income Minneapolis residents. 11 is the drainage and utility easement vacation. 12 is the Northrop King residential project bond issuance, setting a public hearing. And 13 is a land sale, vacated right-of-way at approximately 2300 15th Avenue South, setting a public hearing for that. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda, or are there any items that anyone would like to pull for further discussion? All right, I'm not seeing anything from my colleagues. So all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And the ayes have it, and that motion is carried. For our first public hearing, we have an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales, no live entertainment license for Hazel's Northeast. We will first have a presentation from staff, and then we will open up the floor for their public comments. And so I will ask Akbar Mohammed from Business Licensing to give us a brief presentation. Mr. Mohammed, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Ellison and committee members. I am Licensed Inspector Akbar Mohammed, Licenses and Consumer Services. I'm presenting an application from Good Cheer Hospitality, LLC, DBA as Hazel's Northeast. Located at 2859 Johnson Street Northeast in Ward 1. Current license is an on-sale wine with strong beer, no live entertainment. The applicant is requesting an on-sale liquor, no live entertainment with Sunday sales. Hazel's Northeast is a full-service American restaurant serving breakfast, lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. They focus on comfort food, and their customers tend to be from their neighborhood. They are independently owned and operated for 13 years and at the current location since 2010. They sell beer and wine and hope to add cocktails to their menu in 2024. Their proposed hours of operation are for the interior and exterior are Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They have indoor seating for 52 patrons and outdoor for 14 patrons on a sidewalk cafe. On March 25th, public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the Audubon Neighborhood Association, the Johnson Street Merchants Business Association, and Council Member Elliott Payne. We received 4 comments from the community. 4 support this application, 0 are opposed. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale liquor, no live entertainment with Sunday sales. This concludes my presentation. At this time, I will stand for comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Are there any questions from staff so far? All right. I don't think there's any questions. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I will now open the public hearing. And I've got a list of speakers. I'm going to be slightly guessing because I can't tell what these letters are. But is it Micaiah? Micaiah. All right. Micaiah Klein-Sieve. Please welcome and state your name and area where you live, and then you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Micaiah Klein-Sieve. I live in Northeast Minneapolis in Ward 1. My husband and I, Adam Sieve, own Hazel's Northeast Restaurant. We have been open and thriving on the corner of 29th and Johnson since 2013. And for 13 years, we've held a strong beer and wine license and have been in good standing during that time. In 2019, we considered pursuing the full liquor license, but then COVID hit. So that did not work out, but here we are now. And we are hopeful that the full liquor license now will be a great benefit to our community and the customers we serve. We're hoping that we'll draw renewed attention to our nighttime dinner service, allow us to create dynamic partnerships with Northeast distilleries, and also give our neighbors a walkable and safe option to enjoy a local cocktail. And my husband and I, we live in the neighborhood just 3 blocks away, so we are vested in this at multiple levels. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. I will now call on Brenda Short. Is this for the right item? No. Okay. Yeah, I believe you did, but I'll just. Okay, got you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your testimony. All right. Is there anyone who did not sign up who wishes to speak on this item? All right. I will close the public hearing, and I will call on Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to move to approve this item, and I just do want to have some comments. I've enjoyed your restaurant many times, and thank you for investing and continue to invest. And I want to really let you know why I come back. It's your wait staff. They're always so friendly, so happy to move this forward for approval.
Councilmember Rainville has moved this item for approval, and I agree. Thank you so much for your service to the city and for being here today. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and that motion carries. All right, we have our second public hearing. Our next item is a public hearing to authorize the sale of properties at 2106 and 2110 Penn Avenue North to Envision Communities and authorizing a land sale redevelopment agreement, exclusive development rights, a temporary construction easement, and an agreement with Envision for the Envision Community Phase 1 project. So I'll ask Jamie Riddell from CPED to give us a presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Ellison and members of the committee. I'm Jamie Riddell. I'm a Senior Project Coordinator with the Residential Finance Team of CPED. Before you today is a series of recommendations to support the development of Envision Community Phase 1.
Hey, real quick, can everybody, is the sound on the mic a little low to others, or can people hear you okay? Okay.
I'll move over.
Okay, thank you.
Before you today is a series of recommendations to support the development of Envision Community Phase 1. This includes recommendations on land disposition, project financing, and a temporary construction easement. I'll begin with a brief overview of the project and how the project originated and how it came before you today. The Envision project is a pilot project that is a result of a community-led effort to bring ideas generated through a community health analysis around social determinants of health undertaken by HCMC. Social determinants of health are non-medical factors in our community and environment that can influence short and long-term health outcomes. Having access to stable, decent housing and supportive community have been shown to be critical determinants to improve health outcomes. The Envision project is working to bring those together. The project's goal is to not only provide housing of those previously affected or currently affected by lived experience of homelessness, but to build community amongst residents living there through the intentional community model. Their model is based on a set of shared values that include autonomy, trust, letting go, open to learning, shared responsibility, and social change. Over the years, this project has evolved from a group of tiny houses with a shared kitchen, living, and other bathroom space to what is before you today, which is 2 houses with bedroom suites connected by a common kitchen and community space. The project was originally awarded $1.2 million in city funding through the city rebudgeting process that occurred after the federal appropriation of ARPA funds in 2021. The direction that was included in that action was funds will be used for the development assistance for Envision Community to create an intentional community that is designed and led by residents with lived experience of homelessness. Since this city infusion of funding, the residential finance team has been working closely with the developer to bring together a project that meets their overarching goals while also being financially feasible. In its final form, Envision Community Phase 1 includes 10 SROs with a community kitchen and living area. Agate Housing will provide on-site services to the project and will apply to Hennepin County through its competitive RFP process for 8 units of housing supports, which, if awarded, will provide rental assistance and operational funding. 2 of the units will not have income restrictions to give the developer the flexibility they might need to rent those units to individuals who want to live in the intentional community they are seeking to create. Envision aims to keep the rents affordable for those units at the 60% of AMI level. The project team identified 3 contiguous city-owned lots upon which to build this project: 2100, 2106, and 2110 Penn Avenue North, which is located in the Willard Hayes neighborhood of Ward 5. They submitted an offer to purchase these parcels in January 2023 with the intention to develop the entire property at that time. As required under the land disposition policy, staff provided notification to the Northside Resident Redevelopment Council on February 27, 2023, and staff did not receive any comment from the organization since that time. Over the course of 2023, the project financing, as well as the practical difficulties created on this site by the 2040 Plan lawsuit, triggered a decision to split the project into 2 phases, with the first phase being built on 2106 and 2110 Penn Avenue North. Based on the city's land disposition policy, staff recommends that the city 1, sell 2106 and 2110 Penn Avenue North to Envision Communities or a related entity at $20,200 per parcel in support of the development of the Phase 1 project. And secondly, grant exclusive development rights to Envision Communities or a related entity for 2100 Penn Avenue North for up to 2 years, with the potential of a 1-year administrative extension to allow the developer to finalize its Phase 2 plans. Over the last 3 years, Envision Communities and its predecessor sponsor have sought government and private foundation funding to get this project off the ground and have received just over $775,000 from other sources, not including the city. This includes approximately $86,000 from Hennepin County for environmental cleanup, $300,000 from the Pullid Family Foundation, and nearly $225,000 from the Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church. In addition, Envision is making an allocation of funding from other contributions that have been made to them from organizations including Family Housing Fund, Mortenson Family Foundation, and WEM. The developer is also pledging sales tax and energy rebates, as well as a deferred developer fee to round out the financing for this project. The city is proposing to contribute up to $1.742 million up to this project, with $1.467 million coming from ARPA, which was already committed by the city in July 2021 and November 2023. A contribution of up to $270,000 already in the CPED program budget is proposed to fill the remaining financial gap. Timing of this project is critical as there are requirements around the commitment and spend down of the federal ARPA funds. Staff is recommending that the City Council authorize a contract with Envision Communities, Inc. or a related entity, allowing up to a $1.742 million loan, $1.742 million structured as a 30-year forgivable loan. Both city land acquisition and city financing trigger the need for this project to comply with the city's unified housing policy. The policy requires that at least 20% of the units are affordable at 60% of AMI for a minimum term of 30 years, and that design of the affordable units are consistent with the unrestricted units. This project meets these requirements as there will be 8 units affordable at 50% AMI or below, and the developer has agreed to maintain affordability for 30 years. The design of the affordable units is the same between both the affordable and the unrestricted units. Finally, the developer has requested to enter into a temporary construction easement with the city at 2100 Penn Avenue North to facilitate environmental cleanup, as well as construction and site work at 2106 and 2110 Penn Avenue North. Staff recommends granting a construction easement for this project, subject to the condition that the developer restore 2100 Penn Avenue North to its existing condition. I do want to acknowledge before I end my comments that the development team is here, should you have any comments for them today. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this project.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Are there any questions for Ms. Radel? All right, I'm not seeing any questions, and so I'll call you back up if anything comes up.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I'm going to now open the public hearing. All right, so signed up for the public hearing, we have Josh Bergeron. Welcome.
Thank you. Afternoon. My name is Josh Bergeron. I also live in Ward 5, proud member of that community. And I'm here today to just say thank you so much on behalf of Envision Communities for the support. It's been generous, it's been consistent, and it's been unwavering from the city and the city staff in helping us as an organization get off the ground and provide a new model for people that really need it in this community. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next on the list, we've got Freddie.
Thank you so much, guys. I know you have been standing here maybe 4 or 5 times already. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ellison. The thing I have to say now that I'm a chair and I'm president of the board is that it's been 6 years in the making, and I haven't given up on it. And I know this thing is going to become a manifestation once the community allows this to go forward. And I'd like to thank you all for support for this. Thank you.
Yes, it has certainly been a long time in the making, so thank you for all your work. Is there anyone who was not able to speak who wishes to speak, or anyone who didn't sign up who wishes to speak on this item? Please.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Miller, and I'm the Associate Director for Agate Housing Supportive Services. I am just so excited about this project. What I feel like we need as a community is more community. Instead of living in little boxes away from each other, we need to be living more with each other intentionally. And when I was introduced to this project, I was like wanting to scream, yes, yes, yes. So thank you all for supporting this. Thank you all for working hard on this, and I'm excited for the future.
Thank you so much for your testimony and for the work that you do. So, is there anyone else here to speak? All right, seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing, and I will call on Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I just wanted to take time to thank Envision Communities, thank the Northside community for their unwavering effort, our city staff behind this project, Agate, Hennepin County. This is one of the projects that we see out of the American Rescue Plan funding that we were able to put towards. Now we're looking into 2024. That is really adding a wonderful benefit to our community. I'm really proud to see that 8 of the units are going to be affordable, and it is in partnership with Agate Housing to really help our community. And I love the community aspect behind it. And so I'm just proud as a new council member joining in at this last leg to move this for approval and just give my gratitude to every person that was behind this.
Thank you. That motion is before us, and I'll just add, it has been a long road in the making, and you know, this is a vision, so to speak. Envision. This is a vision that was really crafted by the folks who are experiencing, the most vulnerability when it comes to housing instability. being able to have some self-determination and say, this is the model that we want, this is how we want to contribute to the housing continuum. And so I think not only is it going to be a tremendous asset, but the process to get into this point has been an incredibly empowering one as well for community members, like Freddie. And I know that you stand on the shoulders of a lot of people who've supported this work to get this far. And so on Councilmember Chowdhury's motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. You better not. I'm just kidding. Do what you want. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you all so much. All right. So we have on to our next public hearing. Our next item is a public hearing on the regulation of tobacco products ordinance. I'll ask Amy Lingo from Business Licensing and Evelyn Carberry from the Health Department to give us a brief presentation. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Chair Ellison, council members. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Evelyn Carberry with the Health Department, and I'm here to co-present on the proposed tobacco amendments with Amy Lingo from Business Licensing. So first wanted to speak to the public health rationale for these proposed amendments to our current tobacco ordinances. So as a health department, we are concerned with the leading cause of preventable death in Minnesota, and that's tobacco use. It causes millions of deaths each year from heart disease, cancer, and more. Because of the addictive nature of commercial tobacco products, it's far more effective in lowering deaths to prevent people from ever starting to use them. And so as a health department, one of our primary strategies is to prevent young people from exposure to products and starting to use them. Over the years, the Minneapolis City Council has implemented multiple ordinances to decrease youth exposure and consumption of commercial tobacco products. This includes restricting where products can be sold and increasing the age to purchase these products. These proposed amendments will further help reduce exposure to commercial tobacco products, including advertising and secondhand smoke, and ensure that the penalties for knowingly violating city policies are appropriate. So first, I want to speak to the public health rationale for restricting price discounts and coupons. So the tobacco industry uses price discounts and coupons to keep prices low and target youth and individuals living in low-income communities and communities of color. Low prices on commercial tobacco products are associated with increased initiation of use of tobacco products and make it harder for people to quit when they want to. The tobacco industry spends most of their marketing dollars on price discounts and is so good at targeting them that they are almost invisible to those who are not using those products. This can allow manufacturers to avoid regulations as much as their advertising and discounting is done through emails, social media, websites, and mobile coupons. Coupons foster nicotine addiction in young smokers and keep heavy smokers addicted. Minnesota adult smokers who redeemed cigarette coupons were much less likely to quit smoking than those who didn't use them. Keeping tobacco prices high is one of the most effective ways to help people quit and prevent young people from ever starting to use these products. In terms of raising the minimum price for commercial tobacco products, keeping the cost of commercial tobacco products high is one of the most effective tools we have for reducing use and stopping initiation. This is especially true for young people who tend to be most price sensitive. For every 10% increase in the cost of a price of cigarettes, adult smoking decreased by 3 to 5% and youth smoking by 7%. Also, having a minimum price floor for commercial tobacco products is more desirable than excise taxes because neighborhoods with low-income residents tend to have cheaper cigarette prices. And so residents may initially face higher price increases when the minimum price law is enacted. However, these are our same communities that tend to be most affected by targeting of commercial tobacco products and face higher morbidity and mortality rates. And so when accompanied with strong cessation support, these minimum price laws can actually benefit the communities when we consider the long-term cost of negative health outcomes of chronic disease. In terms of increasing the penalties for stores that violate the city ordinance, our city ordinance is clear and well communicated to vendors. It is obeyed by the vast majority of retailers in the city, and many of those who choose not to follow it do so intentionally. So having a strong penalty will again reduce the likelihood that stores will either intentionally or unintentionally sell tobacco products to persons under 21 years of age or violate other city ordinances. In terms of ending the sampling loophole, this is done to protect the health of people who are working in establishments that sell commercial tobacco products like cigars and other things, as well as those who live nearby. It falls under the Minnesota Clean Indoor Air Act that does not have a provision for people to consume products for long periods of time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Lingo. I'm the manager for licenses and consumer services. This ordinance does fall under the enforcement provision of my division, so I am here to speak to the specifics of this ordinance as it is currently written. As Evelyn has addressed, there are 4 major components to this ordinance: the ending of price discounts and coupons for commercial tobacco products, the increase of the minimum price for cigarettes, cigars, snuffs, and snus, and increase in the presumptive penalty for licensees that violate the policy, as well as ending the sampling loophole for commercial tobacco products. So the first one we have is very simple, is the price discounts and coupons. That amendment would clear out there are no coupons or discounts permitted. The minimum pricing would change that to $15 for a pack of cigarettes. Cigars would also be in the $15 for a 4-pack. Individual cigars at $3.75. The sampling ordinance that existed prior in the Minnesota Clean Air Indoor Act was very vague and just said that sampling was permitted and exclusive, but it didn't set any parameters. So this closure ends that loophole and that discussion. And it is in compliance and in consideration with other areas that have done the same thing. So no smoking will be able to occur inside of any establishments. The sampling ordinance for exclusive tobacco dealerships will be permitted and have the sunset date of December 1st, 2024. The penalty matrix will be updated. Currently, if you fail a youth tobacco compliance check or any complaint-driven compliance check, the first violation is $200. It doubles the second. The third violation, $800 with a 30-day license suspension. Fourth violation is a $1,600 fine with a revocation, minimum of 1 year. This is all measured within a 24-month period. The 24-month period is not changing, but the proposed first violation would be $500. $1,000 for the second violation with a 7-day suspension. Third violation within 24 months is a $2,000 fine, 120-day license suspension. Fourth violation within 24 months would be a license revocation process. As I stated before, the changes would be effective immediately upon full vote of the council, except for the sampling, which has a sunset date of December 1st, 2024. The enforcement process is the same as it is currently. We are complaint-driven, but we also have state-mandated yearly youth tobacco compliance checks, where we go and check every establishment to make sure that they are adhering to the 21 and over sales. We also do checks based off of flavors and other issues that are complaint-driven. The businesses, as far as the enforcement and the violation fines, there will be no impact on businesses that are already operating appropriately and within the law, because the only way that you will see the increased violations is if you are selling inappropriate material or to the inappropriate age. In 2023, we did 224 checks. There were 21, and we issued 29 citations. So we have it's not too bad of a number. They do a good job. But this would keep those who struggle with selling to minors or selling the inappropriate product in line. And that ends my presentation, and we stand for any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions for Ms. Lingo or Ms. Carberry? Oh, yeah. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I think this would be directed to Ms. Lingo. Thank you so much. My only question is, could you just share a little bit about how we got to the different pricing to 15 and then the 375?
That would be actually more of an accurate question for the health department, because
Okay,
those numbers
perfect.
were derived by them.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so at the $15 per pack, we do believe that we would be one of the highest in the country. Those numbers were actually brought forward by Councilmember Vita in proposing this ordinance. But we did derive the individual cost for cigars working down from the we based it on the 4-pack at $12.60. So as we were considering raising the minimum price of cigarettes, wanted to do something complementary for other commercial tobacco products so that we are consistent across the board. And then working backwards from the 4 price at $15, 4 cigars at $15 to the individuals at $3.75.
Thank you. And
Sure.
just to clarify, so then with 15, we would have the highest in the nation.
Based on the current research that we have done, that is the assumption that we are
Okay,
working under.
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions? Sir, are you trying to set up a recording device? Or?
No, I'm not trying to set up a recording
Sorry, the public
device.
hearing is, I got to ask you this. If you
I'm a
can sign up
community
for the public
member.
hearing.
I tried to get here for the public.
Yeah. Give your name to the clerks. We got you. It's no problem.
Okay, you have an open for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get your name on the list. Oh, and we got a question from Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I'm just curious about a couple of things. The sampling ordinance, does that eliminate hookah? I know there are establishments that I think still allow smoking of hookah, or if not, then we can clear that up. But also, I think there's certainly cigar bars that exist. Are we effectively closing them? And then subsequently, I mean, pretty soon, we're going to be regulating cannabis. Potentially, people will want to have sampling opportunities. How does this ordinance impact those current businesses and potential businesses?
Through the chair, Councilmember Jenkins, thank you. That's a good question. As far as the sampling goes, hookah bars, cigar bars, those are not legal. You cannot smoke inside per the Minnesota Clean Air Indoor Act. The sampling ordinance is only for exclusive tobacco dealers. So the only impact, the only use currently would be, for example, Anthony's Cigars. So that would be more of, you could probably call them a cigar lounge, but technically they are licensed as an exclusive tobacco dealer. Hookah smoking should not be inside of any establishment. There should be no smoking of any kind in any establishment, if it's an on sale or any kind of license. That is currently not permitted, even with this sampling ordinance, what we would call a loophole. Smoking outside is fine. So I do have some establishments that do offer hookah, but they are meant to be smoked on the patio or outside in order to meet the Minnesota Clean Air Indoor Act. As far as THC and cannabis goes, that's a state license, and we are in the process of that, but that would still qualify under the no smoking on the inside. There might be some licenses that might qualify for indoor use, but again, that is going to be regulated by the state, and they're in the process of creating that, so we will have to address that later.
Thank you. And then I guess maybe the health department can answer a question about the pricing, and is it an increased tax? If so, does that tax come to the city, to the state? How does the increased price work?
So it would be what is called a minimum price floor. So it is not a tax. Taxes are done at the state level, per my colleague from CPED. So the extra income would go back to the store, which we believe is helpful because it can soften the blow to retailers if they might potentially be losing some sales. With a minimum price floor, any extra revenue goes back to the retailer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I guess I want to just add context to my comments. You know, I've been a coach and a member of the LAMP Fellowship to end smoking cessation or to help with smoking cessation in the state of Minnesota for over 15 years, and currently am a member of the National LGBT Cancer Network. So I strongly am in favor of regulating tobacco. However, I do think the $15 floor is I think it's a challenge, and I wonder, do we have research on price versus lowering the amount of people entering into tobacco use? If anyone can answer that question.
So the question is, what is the impact of increasing the price in terms of decreasing use? So, yes, so for every 10% increase in price, it has been shown to decrease use in adults by 3 to 5%, and in youth by 6 to 7%. As well, there was a study conducted that looked at raising state-level minimum price of cigarettes by an average of $2 per pack, and they were able to project a resulting reduction in cigarette consumption of 15.9%. So almost 16% reduction in consumption for an increase in price of $2.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from colleagues? All right. Seeing none, I will open the public hearing, and I'm actually going to go to the back of the list and then back to the front of the list because Ms. Brenda Short, I called your name earlier, and I wanted to make sure we got you in here. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm not here on the behalf of myself. I'm here due to my neighbors coming to me regarding this, and I always support my community. I first wanted to come with numbers because, I'm a financial person. So as of now, the state of Minnesota is getting $3.04 per 20 packs of cigarettes. The average minimum wage for the average Jack and Jill is $10.85. So if we raise that, and after taxes, it's $12.75. If we raise that and think about the average person who smokes cigarettes, I'm not a smoker, so I just am supporting my neighbors. That puts them at, if they make $10.85 minus the taxes they get before they get their paycheck, their average is at $7.80. So that they already have to work 2 hours just to afford 1 pack of cigarettes. On top of that, they work a stressful job, and they need that break. People who smokes get that extra break, but the average Jack and Jill can't afford the increase, and the increase is going to a store, not even to the city. So we're losing money already. I could see if the money was going back into the community, but it's not. And now we already changed the law with the liquor law, where we can now sell liquor on Saturdays and holidays. You're gonna go back to losing money in the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota by people going across the border. And we can't afford, Minneapolis can't afford losing tax money. That tax money pays for all of our city officials going forward. And I am just saying that $15 is too much. If we're not even, the average minimum wage is not even $15 yet. So you guys could at least think about that, because my neighbors are saying, hey, as easily as you can vote yes on today's ballot, they can vote no for your name. I'm just saying that is too high.
All right, we're at time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For your time. And I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Short. And, I didn't go over the rules of testifying, but remarkably, Brenda, you followed the rules perfectly. So thank you so much. But you're going to come up. Please state your name and city that you live in and where you live for the record. And you will have 2 minutes. I forgot to mention the timer. I will say we've got a number of people on the list here, about 14 people. And so while you have 2 minutes, you don't have to take 2 minutes if you don't want to. And you fully can take your full 2 minutes if you want to. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to invite up the next speaker, one of my personal heroes, Miss Natalie Johnson-Lee.
Good afternoon, Chair and fellow council members. Hi, how are you? All right, my name is Natalie Johnson-Lee. I live in Minneapolis in the 5th Ward, North Side. I'm here today to express my support for the proposed ordinance before you prohibiting the redemption of coupons for commercial tobacco, setting a minimum price of $15 for cigarettes and smokeless tobacco, removing the sampling loophole, and increasing penalties for retailers who violate the ordinance and are essential measures to curb the accessibility and appeal to those harmful products. Prohibiting the redemption of coupons and price promotions would also apply to e-cigarettes and vaping products, which are increasingly prevalent among youth. This proactive step would help maintain higher prices for these products, discouraging their use among young people. Many commercial tobacco products in Minneapolis are already priced higher than $10 per pack or per can. According to the summer 2023 assessment of sampling Minnesota tobacco retailers, 63% did not sell any cigarettes less than $10 per pack, and 45% did not sell any chewing tobacco of less than $10 per can. Setting a minimum price of $15 would have a greater impact on discouraging youth, others who have never used tobacco nicotine from starting, and to encourage people to currently use commercial tobacco to reduce their use or quit. I'm not going to take up my whole 2 minutes because I know it's a lot of people that want to talk, but I'm going to urge you to support this. I have been in your same shoes before, but it was a much bigger, and there was a lot of people that thought that they were going to lose business and things weren't going to happen, and that just the opposite happened. So I would say weigh your information lightly, and I know that you will make the right decision, so I urge you to support the comprehensive tobacco ordinance and let's prioritize our community's health over tobacco companies' profit margins. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson-Lee. All right, I've got next on the list, Emily Myatt.
Good afternoon, Chair Ellison and council members. My name's Emily Myatt. I'm a resident of Minneapolis living in Ward 11. I'm the Government Relations Director for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, and I'm also one of the leaders of Minnesotans for a Smoke-Free Generation, a coalition of more than 50 organizations that share a common goal of advancing justice by striving towards a future where every person is free from commercial tobacco's harms and can reach their full health potential. I'm here today to express support for the ordinance, setting a minimum price of $15 for cigars, cigarettes, and chew, along with prohibiting the redemption of coupons and price promotions on all commercial tobacco products, is a policy that's going to advance racial and health equity. Big Tobacco's practice of price discounting is targeted at specific communities: Black Minneapolis residents, the LGBTQIA individuals, women, young people, and our limited income neighbors. Because of harms caused by commercial tobacco, these communities experience tobacco-related illnesses like cancer at higher rates. And cheap tobacco is not good for anyone but the tobacco industry. I want to also applaud you for closing that sampling loophole. According to MDH, businesses whose primary purpose is to provide a place for customers to smoke are violating Minnesota's Clean Indoor Air Act. Here in Minneapolis, for example, we've seen cigar shops create a business model that allows customers to smoke indoors for sustained periods of time, right? They're taking advantage of the sampling loophole. By amending our city's ordinance to close this loophole, you're upholding our standard of strong, clean indoor air, which Minneapolis residents have really come to expect and support. This ordinance is going to build on our city's past efforts to prevent and reduce nicotine and commercial tobacco addiction, address tobacco-related health disparities, and to tell Big Tobacco that their targeting of our neighbors, our Minneapolis residents, is not welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Greg Bess. Greg Bass.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello, Chair and committee members. My name is Greg Bess, and I live in Northeast, Ward 1. I work as a youth coordinator at North Point Health and Wellness under the Health and Policy Advocacy Program. Our program is dedicated to equipping youth with the knowledge and skills to become advocates in their community. I strongly support the proposed ordinance before you that will prohibit the redemption of coupons for commercial tobacco, set a minimum price for cigarettes and smokeless tobacco, and close the sampling loophole. The ordinance aim of closing the sampling loophole, which has allowed cigar bars and hookah lounges to allow indoor smoking despite the statewide Indoor Clean Air Act, is significant. It is an important step toward protecting all residents from the dangers of secondhand smoke, regardless of where they spend their free time. Setting the minimum price pack to $15 is a crucial step in this. Cigarettes are often cheaper, and certain brands are more heavily discounted in low-income communities and neighborhoods with greater populations of school-age youth and Black residents. As a result, these groups are more likely to use commercial tobacco and experience disproportionate rates of tobacco-related death and disease. It is also critical to prohibit the redemption of coupons and promotions. Tobacco companies use these tactics strategically to reduce the price of their products, making them more appealing to youth and young adults. Surprisingly, approximately half of Minnesota smokers have used tobacco coupons or promotions in the last year, demonstrating the impact of these marketing strategies. Studies have also shown that adult smokers who use cigarette coupons are less likely to quit smoking, highlighting the negative impact of these promotions of public health. I've personally witnessed my own father use his own last dollars to purchase a pack of menthol Newport cigarettes. With the help of coupons from certain gas stations, he knew he had good deals. He looked for any deal or discount to make purchasing a pack every day easier. I urge the council to support the proposed ordinance to regulate price discounting and stop commercial tobacco companies from discounting historically marginalized communities' health.
Thank you. All right, we've got Damone Presley.
Good afternoon, Chair, council members. How you doing, Ms. Jenkins? Nice to see you. Over 15 years, I've been free from drugs and alcohol. My calling in life is to help others experience a life free from addiction. I lead the Twin Cities Recovery Project, the commercial tobacco, nicotine, and youth cessation programs. I've been in the battle with the tobacco industry for decades. I know that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. If you grant the industry access to a community, they will exploit us and focus on getting as many people hooked to their products as possible. They have many ways of doing this. One way is to make their products cheaper by offering coupons, deals like buy one, get one. 2 years ago, St. Paul passed an ordinance like your proposed ordinance. I have helped to do research on compliance with that ordinance. You will be pleased to know that we found excellent compliance with their ban on coupons and price discounts and the minimum price provision. We checked nearly all of St. Paul's stores and no one redeemed coupons. Only 2 stores sold cigarettes under the minimum price. Right now, I'm helping to do a recheck on compliance that is just as good as it was during my first round of compliance check. One store had made a sign that said no coupons, and another clerk told me, we don't sell those here. You have to go outside of St. Paul to redeem a coupon. The stores get it, and nearly all comply. We have allowed the tobacco industry to undervalue our lives for too long. We need to put people over profits. I believe that eliminating tobacco discounts and coupons and setting a $15 minimum price on cigarettes and chew will help people struggling with addiction to nicotine. Please vote in support of this important change. And I'm from St. Paul, but I work in Minneapolis, so I'm glad to be over here.
Get on the other side of the river, man.
We do the work.
I'm kidding. Thank you for coming through, Mr. Presley. All right, Sylvia Amos.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ellison and members of the committee. My name is Sylvia Amos. I'm a lifelong resident of Minneapolis, living in Ward 5. I served 13 years as president of the Women's Auxiliary of the Minnesota State Baptist Convention, been a member of Greater Mount Vernon Baptist Church for 32 years, and a community organizer with the Association for Non-Smokers Minnesota. I am here in support of this proposal. Over the past nearly 10 years, I've seen this council take several steps to counter the efforts of big tobacco, from clean indoor air measures to restricting the sale of flavored tobacco. Your actions have saved lives, but there is still more to do. Tobacco costs our communities a lot, both in lives and in money. A report that just came out shows that every year in our state, we spend in excess of $4 billion on smoking-related disease and death. That is $824 for every adult and child in Minnesota. On top of that, we lose 6,500 precious lives every year to this deadly product. Those aren't just numbers to me. I've seen the horrible consequences of tobacco addiction affect my family. Tobacco addiction has claimed the life of my mother, the life of a husband, and the life of 3 aunts, all of whom smoked menthol cigarettes. Loss of life from menthol tobacco use is prevalent in my community. The tobacco industry has relentlessly targeted Black Americans with marketing, and we suffer from tobacco-related diseases at very high rates. That is racist. For them, it has to do with power and profits. For us, it's a matter of life and death. It's time for all lives to matter and stop putting profits over lives and put lives over profits. We must do all we can to protect the health and well-being of all Minneapolis residents, kids, and adults. And that includes ending the tobacco industry's underhanded practice of cutting our communities a deal with coupons, buy one, get one promotions, and cheap products. Please vote yes on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amos. Next, we have Senna Giletto.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Sina Galetto, and I'm a student at the University of Minnesota. I'm also the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Health and Policy and Advocacy Department at North Point Health and Wellness Center in North Minneapolis. I'm here to express my strong support for the proposed ordinance to regulate the price discounting of commercial tobacco products in Minneapolis, setting a minimum price of $15 on cigarettes and smokeless tobacco, and closing the sampling loophole. As a student, I have observed firsthand the concerning rise in the use of tobacco, specifically vaping and hookah products on campuses, and I believe this ordinance is a crucial step towards safeguarding the health and well-being of our community, especially among youth and young adults like me. To attract youth and young adults to their products, these tobacco the tobacco industry uses fun fruit and candy flavors, as well as coupons and price promotions like buy one, get one. As a result, vaping has become an alarmingly common practice among students, creating an environment in which these products are easily accessible and normalized. The proposed price discounting regulations would significantly reduce the appeal of tobacco products, especially to young people. Lower prices and promotions attract a lot of my peers, so it is crucial to put policies in place that address these marketing tactics. Strong minimum prices like $15 minimums on a cigarette pack can prevent price manipulation based on geographic area or brand. The industry would no longer be able to lower prices in specific communities, which would reduce industry targeting and income-based disparities in smoking rates. For every 10% increase in the price of cigarettes, adult smoking decreases by 3 to 5%, and youth smoking decreases by 6 to 7%. Additionally, the loophole allowing indoor smoking through the sampling exemption is a major source of concern. This exemption not only poses a health risk for individuals exposed to secondhand smoke, but also contributes to the normalization of smoking behaviors, particularly with the growing population of hookah. As a student invested in the well-being of my fellow peers in our community, I urge the City Council to prioritize the passage of this comprehensive ordinance. By taking a stand against price discounting and closing the sampling loophole, we can create a safer and healthier environment for all residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Scoletto. Next, we have James Johnson.
Thank you. Here we are again. I spoke in November on this issue. I won't repeat those. They're on the record. I'm here to express my opposition to the elimination of the sampling. First, I guess I would like to address some what I feel are misperceptions about sampling. First off, it is not a loophole. The Minnesota Clean Indoor Act, Section 144.4167, recognizes 9 permitted indoor smoking activities. These include scientific studies, traditional Native American ceremonies, private homes and residences, tobacco shops, sampling, disabled veterans, rest camps, theatrical productions, among others. The sampling is no different than a scientific study or Native American ceremonies from the point of view of this Clean Indoor Air Act. It is a permitted exemption. I think the second area is understanding what actually goes on. There were statements made in the prior committee about freebies. There are no free handouts. You buy the cigar, you smoke it there. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. The current city ordinance prohibits handing out free samples. The other is banning sampling will do nothing to eliminate reduce secondhand smoke exposure. Everyone there is a smoker or has chosen to be there of their own volition. They're all adults. No one under 21 is permitted. We choose to be there. It's our decision. Putting us out on the street, I stand on the street, people walk by, I blow smoke at them, they ask me where to buy a cigar. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Isabella Green. With 2 Z's. It's the coolest spelling I've ever seen.
Thanks. I'll let my mom know. Good afternoon, members. My name is Isabella Green, and I'm a resident of Minneapolis, constituent of Ward 6, and a medical student at the University of Minnesota. I'm also pursuing a PhD in addictions neuroscience. I'm here today to strongly support the ordinance before you, which would increase the minimum price of a pack of cigarettes to $15, prohibit the redemption of coupons for commercial tobacco products, and close the current sampling loophole, which currently undermines the clean indoor air law. My interest in addiction prevention is personal. I was raised by my grandparents, both of whom have battled with tobacco addiction since they were teenagers. My late grandfather would always tell me that starting to smoke cigarettes was one of the most regrettable decisions of his life. Also, at just 62 years old, my grandmother is navigating the long-term effects of tobacco use, including the prospect of lung cancer. Commercial tobacco marketed to youth like my grandparents in the 60s, and they continue to market to youth today. My hope is that today's youth will never know the debilitation of addiction to commercial tobacco products, but this is only possible with effective policy. Raising the price of commercial tobacco products is one of the most effective strategies for decreasing tobacco use and preventing youth from ever starting to use it in the first place. Decreasing access to commercial tobacco products is also a matter of health equity, as harms from its usage have disparate impacts. Disease from commercial tobacco use, such as heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and stroke, are the leading causes of death for American Indians in Minnesota. Black Minnesotans are 53% more likely to die of smoking-related heart disease. As a med student who cares deeply about my patients' holistic health, I want to emphasize the importance of the ordinance before you. More than ever, health professionals such as myself need your support in passing sound policies that will protect the health of our patients and Minneapolis community members. Thank you so much for your time, attention, and consideration. I hope you all vote in favor of our community's health.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green. Next, we have Rich Marianos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'll be as brief as possible. My name is Rich Marianos. I'm a professor at Georgetown University and a retired ATF agent, here conducting a presentation on criminal tobacco trafficking at another location. I actively work police reform and study police reform, and what I want to bring up is 3 key points that I ask you to take into consideration as we look at this law. One, that an increase in this minimum price floor, I want to get that correct, will create crime. Every place that they've increased taxes or increased the price of tobacco products, there's been border problems and an increase in street sales of tobacco products, which has created crime in every location throughout the United States. The second that's very, very important, and I know it's near and dear to this community and to your heart, is driving a wedge between the community and the police. You've done a great, phenomenal job in the last 5 years in restoring trust in law enforcement. Let's please not take that a step backwards, where police are forced to enforce low-level crimes, border trafficking surrounding cigarette sales, or the sale of legal cigarettes, and decrease the quality of police service on important crimes. We must understand that that's very, very important. Finally, it creates unemployment. And we have to understand that there's several studies when stores are put out of business because of tax increases. Many of the people in these communities don't have supermarkets. They're relying on these convenience stores that make money through tobacco sales, through bread, milk, diapers, deli products. By those community businesses going out of business, it simmers tension in a neighborhood. Why do we want to create more tension in the neighborhood that can continue escalating that problem in the community? Everyone here has made great arguments on both sides. I just ask you to please look at what I've presented on the other side and take it into consideration, because it's very, very important. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Joe Masinski.
Yeah, it's Joe Mazinski. Thanks for listening to me. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. I'm just representing Anthony's Pipe and Tobacco. And specifically the sampling aspect. You know, cigarette smoking and cigar smoking is 2 different things. You don't inhale the cigars. They have great ventilation. They have smoke eaters. These type of places are very special places. If you go anywhere around the country in the bigger cities, New York, Seattle, anywhere, you can find a cigar shop. It's not so much about smoking, it's about the camaraderie and the people you talk to. Poor, rich, Democrats, Republicans, sad people, happy people go to these places to communicate. And like I said, there's so many different cities that allow cigar smoking. Let's see. And I would ask any of you guys, if you guys went in there, brought your friends, saw the ventilation, saw the camaraderie, you guys would agree that it's a good place to go. And specifically, to there's been, the last 2 mayors have been in there. The mayor's bodyguards used to go there every day. So it's a place to go to communicate and enjoy your friends and new people. Again, lastly, you go in other cities and you don't know anybody, you walk in, you'll meet somebody that you'll communicate with and make friends with right away. That's why these places are special. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joe Zerka.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Joe Zerka. I'm the owner of Stop and Shop and A to Z Tobacco over in South Minneapolis. I am here to oppose the proposed ordinance that would implement a minimum price of $15 on cigarettes, moist snuff, snus, and cigars in Minneapolis. This approach would have significant negative impact on our city. The minimum price policy will inevitably drive adult consumers away from Minneapolis retailers. Tobacco users will choose to patronize retailers outside of Minneapolis where these products are sold at a lower price. This would not only result in loss of sales for retailers in Minneapolis, but also loss of sales tax revenue for the city. Additionally, this policy will encourage criminal activity in Minneapolis. Criminals will seize the opportunity to purchase tobacco products in neighboring cities where prices are lower, smuggle them to Minneapolis, and sell them at a lower price on our streets. This will lead to increase in illicit trade and pose a very serious risk to our community, as well as not IDing the people they're selling to. I also want to add that my store was destroyed during the riots in 2020. Since then, we have reopened. We've been reopened since September 21st of 2021. We were closed for 16 months. I hired a public adjuster to represent us to the insurance company, and it was the worst 16 months anyone could go through. On top of that, we have spent about $250,000 on just keeping our property safe. We have had smash and grabs before, and this will only increase that opportunity for criminals to do in our city. I urge the City Council to reconsider the tobacco ordinance. Instead, I encourage you to explore alternative strategies and achieve the desired public health outcomes without negatively impacting the residents, consumers, retailers, and the City of Minneapolis. I would like you to gauge the public's approach of your ordinance to go to the public. I invite you to spend just 1 hour in my gas station located at 3050 First Avenue South, and I guarantee you will find that what you're doing does not help the public, but only hurts them. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And I believe last on the list anyway, we have Maurice Ward.
Maurice L. Ward, founder of JIVE. JIVE is the acronym for Justice Impacted Individuals. Live over Northeast, District 1. I'm a DFL chair. You guys will see me again because I'll be bringing you justice impacted individuals being a protected class in Minneapolis. I'm here speaking against this specifically because nobody who presented any of this information looks like me or represents my community. The first thing they would have said to you is, what about Eric Gardner? He was out there in New York selling Lucy's, which for them is a cigarette, a single cigarette, and that's what you guys bring it into the city. Individuals trying to make money selling these loose cigarettes because a person can't afford a pack. The other thing is when it comes to sampling, it's like, again, it's for individuals who are older. They card you before you come in. Individuals in there want to smoke cigars. So it's not a situation where they're young adults are coming in. For everybody who presented their issues, I understand that, but it's not one individual who's come up and gave us a solution. Being black in America is a reason people smoke. So what's the solution to that? So with that being said, I urge you to vote against this or remove that sampling clause from it if it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone who did not sign up who would like to testify on this issue? All right, I'll wait another bit. Oh, yep. Come forward.
How we doing? Thank you, committee. I wasn't planning on coming up and speaking today. I did want to, Alfonso Mayfield, resident of North Minneapolis. I don't want to speak completely about opposing this amendment. what I would encourage the writers is to rethink it. And I think the testimony that we're hearing today is we're talking about a few different issues, kind of lumped into one solution. I think we're looking at different demographic. I'm hearing folks talk about addiction and menthol tobacco. We're also hearing about cigars, which are different demographics. It's different. It's a totally different issue. So I think the danger here is lumping all of tobacco into one category, right? Cigarettes are different than premium cigars. And so I just encourage the writers of this to kind of go back and consider that and repropose. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we had, did you have your hand raised? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Tahar Lahashi, and I'm a resident of Northeast. I wanted to speak about the closing of the sampling ordinance in the city of Minneapolis, especially for the stance of the hookah bars. In the city of Minneapolis, I know the options for nightlife is greatly limited, and a lot of people do frequent hookah bars as a place to gather and socialize and meet with friends and things of that nature, especially a lot of people from the East African community, and a lot of us do not participate in drinking and alcohol, so we kind of find these places as a place for us to gather and congregate amongst one another. And I feel like the closing of the sampling ordinance will be a target on our community because we already have so many limited options of what we can do. Like a lot of with my community, we don't really frequent bars a lot, and I know there's a lot of bars in the city, so I just think this will be kind of like another hurdle for us to get over as a community, or just take away an option for us. And I know a lot of these sampling establishments do include ventilation, so to get that air clean. So in terms of that argument with secondhand smoke or anything like that. So that is my stance, and hopefully you guys could look into that and consider that. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else who did not sign up who would like to speak? All right, I'm not seeing, okay, got these buzzer beaters in here. All right.
Mr. Chair, while he's on his way up, could you ask that those who have not signed up, please
Yes,
come and sign in when you're done speaking.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
for those of you who just spoke and didn't sign in, please come and do so.
Yep, please, thank you.
Yeah. Thomas Zocker, and thanks for your time today. I'm mainly here also to mention Anthony's Cigar Lounge, which has been a business that's been in Minneapolis for over 30 years. Paying their taxes, paying their employees. They've got a good staff that stays there forever, and creating a real community. This isn't a place where kids are allowed. They're adamant about the 21 plus and show an ID. And it's a community. It's blacks and whites and Asians, and there's transgender people regularly going in there, and all, 21 and up. I've met people who are 21 that started smoking cigars there. I've met people that are in their 90s still smoking cigars there. And it's just a place where nothing bad ever happens. People go there, they, like Joe said a few minutes ago, it's the camaraderie. It's getting to see all kinds of different people and meet them and talk with them about their points of view. And the thing to remember too is, as far as people worrying about the health, well, worry about your own health. As an adult, if I decide I want to smoke a cigar, I should be able to do that. And this is a place that you don't have to enter if you don't want to be a part of it. It's not like we're asking for smoking in a church or smoking in the lobby of a hospital. No, this is a place you do not have to go for any reason if you don't want to go there. And what did I have? I had one more thing. Oh, and the other thing is, I'm not sure why the sampling law is being lumped in with these coupon laws, because I don't know anybody at the cigar shop who would be opposed to outlawing these coupons and stuff like that, because that's not the kind of business they are. It's a completely different animal. This is a place for adults to go and socialize. That's all it is. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. If you hadn't signed up, but you did testify, please get your name to the clerks. And thank you for your giving your testimony. Are there any more late entries? Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion from my colleagues or anyone wanting to make a motion? I see we've got Councilmember Jenkins and then Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question is for the city attorney. I'm curious, as sampling tobacco stores are included in the state statute, if we were to close that, is that a possibility of being overridden by the state?
Madam Chair and committee members, if you mean overridden by the state legislature always has the ability to override or preempt cities on any number of issues. There's one in particular that they're looking at now that I think all the council members are aware of. So certainly that's always a possibility. I will say that this specific loophole, for lack of a better term, that's being talked about with sampling, in that legislation or in that statute, it does say that it grants cities specifically the power to enact more stringent regulations, and that's the authority that is being utilized to propose the elimination of sampling altogether, which I do believe is consistent with the law as it currently exists.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I do want to express my concern about the sampling issue. As been stated, it does seem like it's being lumped into this ordinance and two separate issues. And I'm wondering, is there a way to separate that item out of this ordinance?
Councilmember Rainville has a response. So
I'd like to address that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Jenkins, this ordinance is from Councilmember Vita, and I would like to suggest that you consult her with that question. I am not prepared to answer that, but we do have until the council meeting next week to get you some answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Councilmember Rainville, you had further comments or questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I do have a couple amendments to this. Councilmember Vita is not on the committee, so she's not able to do this. So I'm offering these, and it is for Tobacco Ordinance 28.1.40. Under item G, you have this in front of you, where we have it highlighted in green. At the very end of that paragraph, that the cigars contained within equating to $7.50 for a package containing 2 cigars and $11.25 for packages containing 3 cigars. The other amendment is under item J, and again, it would be at the end of that paragraph stating, in addition, no person may sell or otherwise offer for retail sale a package of loose tobacco 3 ounces or less prior to applicable sales taxes being imposed of less than $5, nor a package of loose tobacco greater than 3 ounces prior to applicable sales taxes being imposed of less than $15. And I'd like to move approval of those amendments, please.
Thank you for the motion. So we've got the motion for these amendments before us, and I will call on Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Really appreciate it. If I kind of had a couple questions on the amendments. Councilmember Rainville, if you're able to answer, just could you walk us through a little bit about the thinking behind these prices, how it relates? I'm just trying to get an understanding of the context of them, and then a little bit about the conversations with department staff that's been had regarding these amendments.
Yes, so these amendments are in consultation, with department staff, and it all goes down, Councilmember Chaudhry, to the staff recommendation of the higher the price of tobacco, the less people will use them, and thus the greater need of public health will be achieved.
I see that our city attorney has some input here for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I was involved with Councilmember Vita's staff in bringing the amendments forward. A couple additional little points. It's only the green highlighted language that is the amendment language, the new language. And the first one, it just reflects what that pricing structure is already for, or is proposed to be for the packages of cigars. It basically just says if it's 2 cigars, it's this. If it makes it simpler. It doesn't change the amount at all. It just explicitly says, well, here's what it is for 2, here's what it is for 3, and here's what it would be for 4. So there's no substantive change in the minimum price floor that is being proposed based on that amendment. It just makes it more clear for the different size packages. And then the second one, as Councilmember Rainville offered it, it set a minimum price point for loose tobacco as well. There are a number of types of tobacco which minimum price floors are being proposed for in this ordinance. That's just one that they evidently hadn't contemplated, and they are suggesting to basically be in line with kind of the amounts that are referenced for some of the other products.
Thank you, City Attorney Fossey. Are there any other? Oh, Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Were you done, Councilmember Chaudhry? I do want to comment. We've heard a lot of testimony today, and a lot of it very compelling. Our first speaker and our last signed-in speaker, anyway, mentioned some impacts to communities that I think are very real and deserve at least mention. This increase will negatively impact communities of color who smoke for a number of reasons. I think it was stated that being black in America is certainly one of those reasons. I have been, as I added before, I've been involved in tobacco cessation since 2003. So over 20 years trying to help people quit smoking, advocating for policies, passing policies on this body to curb smoking in our communities, banning flavored tobacco, menthol, which was one of the last and is still a federal issue. But I do just, how do we address the issues that are impacting communities and the reasons why they smoke? I declared racism as a public health crisis. And one of the public health issues is that communities of color disproportionately smoke cigarettes and are being targeted by tobacco companies. That's a fact. However, it is also a fact that it is very challenging, and a lot of people seek some comfort in tobacco use. And so I just wanted to acknowledge those issues as being real issues, as being something that we as a community, as I heard many, many times, have to try to come up with ways of helping our communities cope without smoking. We can't just take it away and expect people to then move on with their lives. We have to have something in place that will help people to overcome these issues of racism, of unemployment, of lack of adequate, safe, and affordable housing, all of which contribute to people smoking. LGBT communities being under attack, being ostracized from communities. These are some of the studied reasons why people use tobacco and other substances for that matter. Alcohol, fentanyl, as we see as a major challenge on our streets. And so I want to challenge us to, in our efforts to say no, to also be coming up with solutions to try and help our communities that are really struggling with these issues to be able to overcome. So I just want to make that commentary. I am in support of the majority of this ordinance. I think we need to pull out the piece around sampling. I think adults should have the choice to be able to smoke a cigar if that's what they desire to do. And people should have the choice to smoke cigarettes too if that's what they desire to do. But $15 will certainly discourage some people. I think it's a real thing that, I mean, all around the country, cars drive into convenience stores, and the only thing they take is Newport cigarettes. Crime is a real issue as well. Lucy's are being sold on every street corner in America, and I'm sure on Broadway as well. So it's a very complex issue. We can pass this ordinance today, and hopefully it will discourage some people from smoking, but we're still going to have the same challenges on our streets, and we have to deal with those as well. So my plea is that we come up with solutions to try to help people overcome these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. I have a proposal, if the body is willing to hear it, about how we can move forward on this. One is that because the amendments here, to my understanding, are an affirmation of some of the pay scale that's already written in the ordinance, I'm wondering if we can pass the amendments here. And then my proposal would be that we forward without recommendation with the intent of having a conversation with the author and staff about sampling. I'm not versed well enough on it to take a stand today on it. I did hear one of our testifiers, one of the places that there was a lot of agreement was on the fact that some of this targeted couponing and all that and discounting is predatory, and I felt like there was consensus across that. And then also having a conversation about, I don't have any issue with the $15 package minimum, but I also don't smoke, so I wouldn't have an issue with it. And so folks might have questions, and so for that reason, I've heard a number of my colleagues sort of express a little bit of hesitation around sampling, and I want to give an opportunity for us for council members to have conversations with the author about the possibility of either having that up for a separate vote at the full council, removing it from the ordinance. I want to offer that. And I feel like that will be a way for us to still discharge this item from committee, because the other option is holding it in committee until we have 6 members and until we sort all of this out. And so I would love to see this item advanced so we can pass it sooner rather than later, and forward it without recommendation with the intent to discuss those 2 provisions within the ordinance seem like the best way forward. How does that feel to my colleagues? All right.
I can be in support of that.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna ask us to take a vote on the amendments being proposed by Councilmember Rainville, and so that's not the whole ordinance, but that's the amendments to the ordinance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, and that the amendments are made. Thank you very much, Councilmember Rainville. And then next, I will move to forward this without recommendation. That means that the ordinance will go to full council on its regular schedule, but that we may anticipate at least a few amendments. And before I make that motion, I will call on Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. This might be for our city attorney. I am just trying to get an understanding of what is the definition of sampling under state statute. If you could share that with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I believe that the operative language there, and I would certainly concur with our enforcement staff that it is quite vague. It says that except for a bona fide sale of a smoking device, providing or otherwise making available for use by a customer, potential customer, or any other person a smoking device for purpose of sampling any tobacco product, provided that this subsection shall not prevent providing or otherwise making available for sampling, testing. You know, that's a different provision. Yeah, that's our ordinance provision. I'm sorry. If you could, I'll have to loop back and try to find the definition from the state statute, and I'll provide it after the meeting. But it essentially says, it doesn't define it very much. It says that sampling of tobacco products in exclusive tobacco product stores is something that is exempted from the current status of the Indoor Clean Air Act, although I did say it does provide cities authority to be more stringent than that. And I think the enforcement issues that come into play, and certainly Ms. Lingo could talk more about that, is does sampling mean sitting in leather chairs for 4 hours and going through, 9 cigars with your buddies, or does it mean trying out one cigar from a new box and determining whether you want to buy the box within 5 minutes? And that's not adjudicated or spelled out at all in the definition.
Any additional context, Ms. Lingo?
Thank you, Chair Ellison. So on the Minnesota Clean Air Indoor Act, it says the MCIA allows the lighting of tobacco or the use of electronic delivery devices within an indoor area of a tobacco or vape shop, quote, by a customer or potential customer for the specific purpose of sampling tobacco products. That's all it states, and it needs to be within a tobacco shop as defined. So it doesn't state how long a sample is, what constitutes a sample, how many samples can be. So that is where the confusion and the clarification needs to be, is what is the sample and how long can one?
Are people charged to sample? Doesn't say.
It doesn't say.
Got it. Any further?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I asked that question because, when you hear about sampling, you're thinking about like a small amount of usage and just trying something out. And what's happening in the city of Minneapolis is not a short amount of usage. It's usage over time. It's camaraderie, as someone said. It's in lounges, and I think that is something that we're going to have to consider. Obviously, the vagueness of state law has put us in this position, and I just wanted to note that has been a part of my thinking. And I just wanted to put in for the record, I as a person who I'll age myself, I'm 27 years old. I watched the way tobacco impacted students that I went to college with when I was 18, 19. There was a time where millennials and into Gen Z was going to be the generation that stopped tobacco usage, and it was happening. No one was smoking cigarettes when I got into the college campus. It was very few and far between, and I watched it completely skyrocket when Juul was introduced, and I watched students start using Juul and other vapes and then switch in between using cigarettes. And I can say in the public record, I was never someone that ever intended to smoke. I no longer smoke, but I was a part of that demographic that likely was never going to smoke and was going to be a part of the smoke-free generation, and that rapidly changed. And so I just wanted to share with the public, I appreciate this amendment to the ordinance being brought forward, and I think this is a really important public health conversation that we're having about creating the opportunities of future smoke-free generations, because I have to say I don't feel like millennials and Gen Z are no longer a part of a smoke-free generation.
Thank you. And any additional comments, Councilmember Jenkins?
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I just want to give a sincere thanks to all of the advocates that came down today to speak on behalf of this ordinance. I do think this is an important public health issue. As I stated earlier, I'm in support of this ordinance. Certainly do believe that the sampling aspect is a separate issue that I think we should take up. I know that there are some establishments that create a outdoor section for sampling to occur and or hookahs to be utilized, and I think that's a compromise that we should be able to consider as this body. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, yeah, I think the thing that's clear here is that, we're going to take action on this. We've got, Councilmember Vita put a lot of work into this with community members, with advocates who showed up here today. And so by forwarding without recommendation, it offers us a little bit of time to make some amendments. It by no means means that we're not going to take action on this item and that we're not going to change the way that we're regulating this product here in the city. And so I do think that, we've had, we have folks from our business community come out as well to give some testimony. And I think that testimony should be considered as well on the road to the full council meeting before we give sort of a final vote of this. And so just for the folks in the audience who are wondering, what does it mean to forward without recommendation? That's just a little bit of context. We're going to take action on this. We're going to move forward on this, but we might make just a few changes before the next full council meeting. So that's all. I will move to forward without recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And that is forwarded without recommendation. Councilmember Rainville?
Amendments, are those included?
The amendments are yes.
Passed the amendments
Yeah, we
already.
passed the amendments. Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for coming and giving testimony. All right. So we're moving on to our discussion items. That concludes our public hearings for the day. We have, our next item is the approval of an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales and limited entertainment license with business license operating conditions for the basement. This item was continued from March 26th Biz Committee to allow City Council members to receive further briefings regarding this license. We received a presentation on this matter at the last meeting. And Amy Lingo is here to answer any questions, but we won't have a presentation as we've already received one. And so I will turn it over. I will see if my colleagues have any questions regarding this item before we take any action on this item. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to read into the record, and I gave copies to the clerks, some comments from the proposed owner which clarify my three objections, which is that the previous liquor license for this spot was denied. This business was purchased from the person who we denied because of his involvement with an after-hours house in St. Paul. I am still very unclear who owns this facility. I trust our staff who did their due diligence, and I'm not by no means disparaging our staff's judgment, but I do not have a comfort level who actually owns this. And my third point in objecting to this, and I'm not voting for it, is because of our understaffed police force. Right now, we are 40% understaffed compared to 2020. The staff that are here, especially the 911 responders, are working large amounts of overtime. We are in an unsustainable position. And I do want to read from this article in the Downtown Voices where they interviewed the potential owner. Mr. Jurisma hasn't operated an establishment before, but has experience promoting and producing musical events in the Twin Cities, including Afrobeat shows at the Poorhouse. That's how he met Eric Vedasto, who initially planned to open the basement. Vidasco signed a lease for the 4,500 square foot space and applied for a liquor license. His request was denied by the city in September of 2020 because an investigation determined that Vidasco operated an unlicensed nightclub called The Basement for a few months in 2021 in the basement of a St. Paul building. Vidasco then sold the business and transferred the lease here in Minneapolis to Jismai. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Peter. I see in the audience. Thanks for coming today. So Peter then told the Downtown Voices that he was unaware of the denial and thought The Basement had already received approval from the city when he bought the business. So I appreciate the offer of investment. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I do not have confidence that this is a good thing for the city of Minneapolis, for the neighborhood, and I will be voting no on this today.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. Just to give a little bit of context, I was one of the council members that asked to get a bit of a briefing. Councilmember Rainville represents his ward. He's representing his ward well, and I appreciate. Always want to give deference to the council member of the ward when they have concerns about something that might be happening. I was able to get a briefing from staff to answer some of the questions about who owns, about what staff seeing from their perspective, and I feel I personally feel like it is both. Legally permissible and appropriate for us to pass this today. I want to make sure that we've got our businesses are set up in a way where they can, do well. But I also think that a little bit of accountability from the council member of the area is appropriate as well. So thank you, Councilmember Rainville, for your comments and for advocating for your residents. But I think that we should pass this out of committee today, forward to the full council. So I will be making that motion. And so, is there any other discussion from colleagues? Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, my chair is really kind of weird here, but I'm curious from staff, are there conditions on this license?
Ms. Linko.
Yes.
Through the chair, Councilmember Jenkins, yes, there are conditions that are being proposed for this license that have been signed by the applicant. We have 4. The licensee agrees to prohibit any current or former member of the Agora LLC from working in a management position at the establishment or from acting in a managerial capacity on behalf of the establishment. Second, the licensee agrees to provide and utilize uniforms for all employees. The uniforms must be worn in a professional manner during all hours open to the public. 3, the licensee shall at all times keep an accurate occupancy count and immediately share the figures upon request with any official of the city of Minneapolis. And 4, the licensee will close at 1 a.m. for the first 3 months of operations. If there are no hours-related violations in that time, the licensed hours will adjust to a 2 a.m. closure.
Any other questions, Councilmember Jenkins?
I guess my question would be for Councilmember Rainville. I know you indicated that the basement was closed in St. Paul. Was it because they were operating without a license, or was there criminal behavior? Like, what was the rationale for closing it in St. Paul?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Jenkins, yes, they were closed because they were operating without a license and had been told to close repeatedly, and it was only upon the threats from the St. Paul Fire Department and licensing that they did close and try to open a place in Minneapolis.
Okay.
For liability reasons, I do think it's important to name that we have no evidence or suggestion that the current, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but that the current applicant that is in front of us today had any involvement in that activity. Is that correct?
Chair Ellison, that is correct. The applicant that stands before us has no relation to the St. Paul basement, nor to the application that was denied.
I would normally not do this, but because we've had a lot of discussion about the applicant, and now this is the second time before us, and I do know that at least it was stated at the last meeting that the applicant wasn't present. I did think it'd be appropriate for us to just hear from you briefly. I'm blanking on your name. I'm sure I have it in front of me somewhere. Peter. Okay. Yes, Peter, come forward. Just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the business, and you know, I'm sure council members may have some questions, but we'll try to limit it just because this is a little bit out of order. So, but please.
Sure. Thank you, Chair, council members. My name is Peter Drachome. I am the owner of the basement. So a little about the basement. My vision for the basement is for it to be a luxury lounge where we predominantly play Afrobeat music and serve some African finger foods, as in beef patties, African beef patties, and such. A little about my background. I work currently as a technical consultant in Fort Phillips, and I also a 10 years veteran of the Minnesota National Guard. When I saw the opportunity to own the basement, I jumped on that opportunity because it's a great space. I saw the space. The space looked nice. I had a conversation with the previous owner about the space. I were aware of the denial. I just did not know the details of it when I purchased the space. And it was a total ownership transfer. The basement is my business, 100%, and I stand before you here, wishing I get my license so that I could, you know, open up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can have a seat, but thank you so much for being here today. Yeah, you know, the last thing I'll say is, you know, Peter, I would encourage you to develop a relationship with Councilmember Rainville, with your neighbors. You know, I think that, you know, the hope is that, you know, you're here to provide, you know, wonderful amenity to the city, and I think that because of staff's recommendation, because of the due diligence that we've seen from staff, from yourself, that we're confident and I'm confident in moving forward, which is why I'm going to be moving to approve this. And I actually will offer that motion now. You know, but I do think that, you know, if you should take anything from today, it's that, you know, the community wants to make sure that every business that's in the vicinity there is in compliance, is a safe place to be, is a fun place to be. You know, Councilmember Rainville, I don't want to speak for you, but Councilmember Rainville's opposition today doesn't have to be opposition tomorrow, depending on how things go and the way that you engage with your immediate neighbors as well. So I'm going to wish you luck, and I'll make a motion to approve this, and I'll see if there's any further discussion from my colleagues. Councilmember Rainville?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one last piece of information for my colleagues. Our police department did not sign off on the safety plan. They do not feel that they can adequately protect the city's interests there. Thank you.
I do have a question about that, because I remember last time I thought that had come up. I'm not totally remembering. I didn't go back and watch our old meeting, but I believe the safety plan came up last meeting, and I thought that there was an approved safety plan.
Chair Ellison, that is correct. The police department in the first precinct did not sign it.
Got it.
They stated concerns were the hours of operation, that the location was too far from the event center, and their low staffing. But that is the requirement for the public safety is not a requirement that can withhold it. We use that to inform our decisions, and that is where some of the conditions have come from and the conversations that we have had with their establishment.
Got it. So the conditions were born out of some of the concerns addressed in the safety plan. Got it.
And the applicant has a security plan that does involve licensed security and or on-staff security to address the difference and the distance.
Got it. Thank you very much. All right, that's helpful. I'll move to approve, and we'll see how that goes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, and that item is approved. And so thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Councilmember Rainville, for your advocacy and bringing up your concerns with this item here. We will move on to discussion item number 15. Our next item is approval of the Home American Rescue Plan award recommendations. I will invite Dan Lauer Schumacher from CPED to give us a presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Ellison and Biz committee members. I'm Dan Lauer Schumacher, a senior project coordinator with the residential finance team here at CPED. Today, I will be presenting staff recommendations on the Home American Rescue Plan Notice of Funding Availability, or Home ARP NOFA, issued in August of 2023. So this is a new and unique funding source. It's the last of the COVID-era housing funds provided by the federal government, and I wanted to give you a short background. The Home American Rescue Plan is a federal stimulus program established in 2021. It was intended to reduce homelessness and increase housing stability. It was allocated to local and state governments, and it is a one-time award available until 2030. Before allocating the funds, we conducted a community feedback and a needs and gaps analysis for the allocation plan. Community members across the city, and specifically people with lived experience, provided feedback. Groups, what? No, yep. Community members across the city, and specifically people with lived experience, provided feedback. The groups included for-profit and nonprofit developers, veterans groups, community members, and groups that work with youth, those with disabilities, mental health advocates, substance abuse issues, and housing service organizations. These funds can be used to fund units, not projects as a whole, that house the following populations: those at risk of homelessness, those experiencing homelessness, those at risk of homelessness, those fleeing domestic violence or human trafficking, and other populations such as those that are in need of services to sustain housing, or families with veterans that have at least one family member who qualifies for criteria 1 through 3. As I mentioned, the city worked with a consultant, ICF International, to conduct community engagement and a needs assessment in early 2023. The development of affordable rental housing for very low income households experiencing homelessness was identified as the top priority. This priority was established in the Home ARP allocation plan approved by City Council in March of 2023. The allocation plan was approved by HUD soon after. CPED staff released a notice of funding availability in late August of 2023. We received 12 proposals with a total funding request of around $17 million. Home ARP is a complex funding source, so we've worked with our consultants to review the proposals. Staff is now bringing 2 proposals forward for council consideration. The first project is the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. The developer is the Minnesota Indians Resource Center. It is in Ward 6. It will include 24 units that are affordable at 30% of area median income. It is a preservation and rehabilitation project. 20 of those units will be designated for people experiencing homelessness. This project will include 20 Home ARP units, and this project is preparing to close in the summer of 2024. Home ARP, our recommendation is to approve up to $2,500,000 of Home ARP funds for this project, and MIWRC will be the service provider at their own building. The second project we are recommending is Kyle Garden Square. This is being developed by Alliance Housing. It is also in Ward 6. It includes 59 units. 55 of those units are affordable at 30% AMI, and 4 of those units will be affordable at 50% AMI. It is an adaptive reuse project. 48 of those units would be designated for people experiencing homelessness. This project will include 33 Home ARP units. This project is also preparing to close in the summer of 2024. Our home ARP recommendation is to approve up to $6,175,000 of home ARP funds. Touchstone will be the service provider for this project. So again, this is a complex funding source, and we wanted to avoid layering city funds that, due to complex rules that affect the tenant selection plan, staff recommends swapping our previous Affordable Housing Trust Fund awards with the Home ARP funds in addition to new awards of Home ARP funds. This frees up Affordable Housing Trust Fund resources for other projects in need of additional funding. It also reduces the compliance complexity for the projects and for the city, and this fully funds these projects so that they can move towards closing later this year. And that is all. Thank you. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for staff from my colleagues? All right. I'm not seeing any questions. I do want to thank you for this work and for the presentation. I think it's really important for our constituents to understand what's the city doing, what are our intergovernmental, relationships, and how are they contributing to our ability to create affordable units and deepen affordability in the city. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I don't have any questions, but I do see we have Councilmember Chowdhury.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Allison, and thank you so much for presenting before us. I really appreciate this. This was really phenomenally done, and I appreciate all the work that you've done on this. I'd love to set up a meeting to kind of talk a little bit more about the process that got here. I did just have one question for you, Mr. Shoemaker. With what's allocated for these two projects, is there any leftover funding, or are we spending the full amount, and what is the total amount that's left over, and what's the process for that in the future looking like?
So this funding, this would allocate all the funding that we have for capital dollars. There's still some remaining funds that are used for administrative costs for the city for administering these funds. But between this allocation and the administrative funds, that would use all of the home ARP funds that we were allocated through HUD.
Wonderful. Thank you for the clarification.
All right. We are waiting for one council member to return so that we can have quorum to take this vote. In the meantime, I thank you so much for the presentation. I will have us move to discussion item 16, and we'll come back to this item to finalize it once we have quorum. So our final item is approvals and appropriation. Huh? Oh, I'm so sorry. Before we start our next presentation, I totally missed the tag standing for Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I was just curious as to what. I know these funds are supposedly to help, marginalized communities, disabled, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just curious, the Kyle Gardens project, what population are they serving?
So within this, so it's 59 units, 55% of those units are for people with incomes less than 30% of the area median income, and 4 of those units are with people under 50% area median income. So it's all low-income households, the vast majority of which are for the very low-income households. 48 of those units were designated for people who are exiting homelessness. So that is the majority of the 48 of the 59 are for people who are exiting homelessness. The rest of those units would be for people who are low-income households in the city of Minneapolis. So the majority for people exiting homelessness, but then in general, the project as a whole is serving low-income residents in the city of Minneapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Schumacher.
Great. Councilmember Rainville?
Thank you, Mr. Just briefly, Mr. Schumacher, thank you for the great presentation. It's not easy to get up in front of us like this, and you did a good job, and you're doing great work. So thank you very much for your service.
Thanks. All right. And so we actually will take this up before moving on to our next discussion item, as we have reattained quorum. So all those in favor, I will move approval of this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Great, and that item is approved. Thanks again for the presentation and the information. All right, our final item is approvals and an appropriation for the new Nicolet redevelopment project public space framework. And this is, colloquially known as the Kmart site. And so I'll invite Adrian Brockheim and Rebecca Perel from CPED to give us a presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. The City of Minneapolis owns 10 acres of land on the former Kmart site at the intersection of Nicolet Avenue and Lake Street in South Minneapolis. The city has plans to reconnect Nicolet Avenue between Lake Street and Cecil Newman and redevelop the rest of the site as a walkable mixed-use district. The goal of the project is that with community input, the site will once again serve as a community and commercial and cultural crossroads, reflecting the needs of the people who currently live there. In phase one of public engagement, the community gave feedback which shaped the following goals: to reconnect people and places, to build for who's here, to live, work, shop, and play here, to build safe, fair, and sustainable transportation networks, and to design safe and healthy communities. This project has been strengthened by very strong collaboration throughout the enterprise. Public Works and almost every division of CPED and other departments in the city work together every day to make this happen. There are 3 phases of engagement for the project. Phase 1 took place from August 2022 to January 2023. Phase 1, took place. Phase 2 started last June and went through March of this year. And Phase 2 consisted of 2 parallel projects. CPED is working on the public space framework, which guides the design of future public spaces on the site. And Public Works is heading up the conceptual layout plan for the 1.5 blocks of new Nicolet Avenue, which will be built through the site. These 2 projects collaborated continuously. All the engagement was done together, and the consultant teams worked closely to ensure a cohesive public realm. We will not be talking about the Public Works recommended concept layout plan for new Nicolet here. It is on the agenda for the Climate and Infrastructure Committee this Thursday. Phase 2 of engagement had 3 different parts. First was on uses and priorities for public space and the street. Second was looking at different design concepts, and the last one was looking at the recommended concept, which is what we will be looking at today for public space. A quick summary of Phase 1 engagement. This is where we opened up dialogues with folks who live, work, and visit the area. We especially focused on the 4 neighborhoods immediately surrounding, which is Whittier, Lyndale, West Phillips, and Central. And the goal was to overall understand the community's priorities for the site. The top themes of comments that we heard after transportation was the desire for green or public space on the site, and this included interest in recreation, gathering, and gardens, among other elements. Phase 2, Part 1 engagement began early this last summer and asked communities to prioritize the different things that we heard from Phase 1 so they could be reflected in the design concepts. One question we asked was, what activities are most important to have on this site? I won't read all of them here, but the top 3 you can see are flexible space, like markets, community gathering space, and community gardens. What features and facilities should be included in this space? Top 3 here are shade trees, open green space, and ecological and pollinator gardens. Emerging from community feedback were 9 overarching themes, which served as guiding principles for the 3 design concepts that were developed in the next round of engagement. Part 2 engagement, the design team used this feedback and these themes to develop 3 different concepts for public space. These concepts aim to explore how public space amenities and activities could be arranged to create distinct experiences on the site. We asked participants to rate each of the concepts on a scale of 1 to 5 stars and to choose their top features. The 3 concepts were the following. Concept A features a linear park along the Greenway that celebrates the Midtown Greenway as a neighborhood amenity. Concept B features a linear park along Nicolet Avenue, celebrating the street with a public green space and a pedestrian promenade, as well as a bikeway along Lake Street. And Concept C features a square park in the northeast quadrant of the site and a diagonal walking and biking connection through the site. All the concepts rated very well on the 1 to 5 stars, but each concept had different aspects that were favored or not. Concept A tied with Concept C when it came to the online survey with the immediate neighborhood. However, many, including Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board staff and commissioners, did not like that the street would split the park in two. There were also concerns that the park would feel private rather than public because of its location adjacent to possible future buildings, possibly residential buildings. Concept B was less favored overall because of how close it was to traffic, the narrow feel of the space, and the potential to be shaded out by buildings. Concept C received the highest scores, local businesses, and a diverse range of community participants at local events. It was also favored by Park Board staff and commissioners. Many liked the flexibility of the square-shaped park as opposed to the linear park, and they liked the unique feel of having a diagonal walking and biking connection in the grid of the city. Based on the findings of community engagement, technical analysis that was done both internally and by consultants, previous project studies, city policies, and input from partner agencies, the Department of Community Planning and Economic Development is recommending moving forward with Concept C. This concept provides the greatest flexibility for meeting the many different community priorities for public space. Staff also recommends allowing some flexibility with this concept. The diagonal shape of the promenade may be difficult for future developers who want to build on the southwest corner. To address this, the recommended concept offers some more flexibility on the west side. The east-west path through the site will connect Lake and Blaisdell intersection to Nicolet Avenue, but developers would be allowed to adjust the path's layout in different ways, as you see in the bottom right. This flexibility will help developers design their parcels to meet practical needs like vehicle access and trash removal. Features of the concept include a proposed new Park Board park that would be open to all, that would provide space for flexible community gathering and recreation, though the detailed design of the park would be determined through a later process by the Park Board. It also feature a walking and biking promenade, allowing that east-west access through the site to future businesses along Nicolet Avenue, to the park, to the future bikeway on First Avenue, and the future relocated Midtown Greenway ramp entrance that would be at First Avenue and the Greenway. It would also feature a mid-block crossing across Nicolet Avenue, which would allow safe walking and biking across the street. And then it also includes a recommended location for a possible Park Board indoor recreational space, which they're calling a storefront recreational space. This is a new idea that they are exploring that would, rather than them having their own building in a park as we do currently, they would be leasing space in a mixed-use building potentially adjacent to the park in which to have their activities. And then finally, it could also include opportunities for additional other small green and gathering spaces throughout the site. And those locations could be determined in the future with developers. The future park could include some of these activities here, which rated highly in public engagement. And city staff will continue to coordinate working toward an MPRB-owned park and managed park in this location. And with that, I will hand it off to Rebecca to speak a little bit more about that.
Good afternoon, Chair Ellison and committee members. Thank you, Adrian, for getting us off to a good start. As you see on the report today, there are 3 actions. The first action is approving the public space framework that was attached to your report. And Adrian just reviewed most of those, or a lot of the high-level materials in that report with you, but I do encourage you to take a look at some of the additional details in that report as we move forward. The other two actions before you today are to authorize a memorandum of understanding between the City of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. This really just gets city staff and MPRB staff off on track to negotiate what a final term sheet would look like. So we'll be coming back to the City Council. And the park board staff would be going back to their commissioners on a final agreement for that land transfer. We hope to be back to our representative bodies within about a year. And things that we'll be negotiating over the course of the next year are exactly where the property line will be in terms of whether it's 1.5 acre or 1 3/4 acre or a full 2 acre park, as well as the various how we would approach possible leased space in an adjacent property, if they're interested in that, the timing of the land transfer, if the city will continue to hold the land until they are ready to build the park and own and operate the park, possibly the purchase price and other costs that are related to pollution remediation, et cetera. So there's a lot that we still need to consider, but there are a few things listed in the attached MOU that have been already agreed to. And I'll finish up with a third action today, and that is an appropriation of funds to continue with Phase 3, as Adrian has talked about. This is the end of Phase 2, and we're moving into Phase 3, which is to develop the development plan. And really, this is writing our goals and our priorities for the future buildings and parcels. So we have our public space that you're taking action on today, and the Climate and Infrastructure Committee will be taking action on the street moving forward later this week, both to be on the full City Council next week if all goes as planned. And this development plan will really look at the buildings themselves. We're going to do a lot of market analysis and market feasibility as it relates to both first floor commercial as well as housing on site. We'll be really looking at what's the right mix of housing in terms of affordability levels and support service levels and potentially some additional market rate level numbers of units. And then we'll be looking at land conveyance strategies. And there have been most of instances in the city where we have a large acreage site like this where there's a master developer, but that isn't the only way that the city can dispose of land or lease land. So there'll be a lot of different discussions and negotiations as we think about what's the best path forward here for our land disposition strategies. And then site plans, looking at a little bit more of how we want to guide various parcels that we have for height and use as well. So we'll be starting community engagement on that this June, hopefully wrapping that up near the end of the year in order to be able to start implementing some of these strategies in early 25. With that, Adrian and I are both here for questions.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. I guess I'm a little concerned. I mean, you stated in your presentation, is it Adrian? There were 3,600 responses and only 16% from the surrounding communities, which is a little bit concerning. 18%, I think it was. I guess it was. And so, because, when I talk to people in the very surrounding communities, I had not heard a park or green space as the priority. And I am not opposed to it, but it just didn't seem like that was the major priorities that I was hearing from people directly living in that area, which is how you started your presentation, is that we want to create a space that is accommodating to the people who live directly or who will be directly impacted by this development. So just a little concerned that are we getting responses from the people who live in that community. And then I guess this is my first time hearing about the park board idea And, you know, what I hear from the park board is that they have very few resources and they are unable to really even complete the work that they have in front of them. And so it concerns me that we are in this discussion and we're being asked to sign a MOU, which I understand we will come back to a year from now with greater detail. But, I mean, have we had some kind of assurance that they are able to create a new Minneapolis park? Because that's what this is.
Yeah, we've been meeting with Park Board staff for over a year, bringing them into the process, having them be at our engagement events and talk to folks. And they, you know, we presented to the commissioners last December and got their feedback on the concepts. Rebecca, do you want to speak to the MOU at all?
Yeah, I think it's just it's important to note that we have been engaging with them for a long time, and the commissioners were very excited. I think the other point that we didn't share today, but I think is a missed opportunity that we didn't, is that in the MPRB's master plan for Southwest Minneapolis, this is a gap. And that's why they're considering it. So they have like maps in their area, in their plans that show walk distance from the various parks that they have. And it just so happens that this part of Minneapolis isn't covered. And that's specifically why they are actually very interested in partnering with us on this. If it were in a part that was already covered by another one of their park service areas, I think that we probably would be in a different position. But it's also, I think important to note on your first question, Councilmember Jenkins, that the survey was specifically only about park space. So none of the options for people were about housing, building wealth, opportunities for jobs, opportunities to own a business, because those are really, really important things that we do hear about when we're at in-person events. But
that's
since
what I
that's
hear about
phase,
when I'm at in-person events.
And since that's phase 3, we've been hearing it, but phase 1 was just trying to get high-level information. Phase 2 is just trying to get information about just the street and the park space. And greening really does come up because it feels very, bleak and concrete, and there really are very few, if any, trees on the adjacent streets, and obviously zero green space on the site itself. And so greening does come up a lot, but this survey was specifically only asking about green space, and therefore people answering questions didn't have the option to respond on other pieces, which they will have the opportunity to respond to now in 2024 as we continue community engagement. And then we also are very clear that surveys are a poor way they're one way of getting information from our stakeholders and community members, but it's a poor way of getting really nearby neighbors. And that's why we did the 18 in-person events where we had interactions with 800 different people. And the way that we've been able to distinguish between what we heard in the survey versus what we heard at all of the in-person events, you can see that we heard different things because you get a different demographic responding to a survey than you do from someone who's going to come to a meeting that's down their block, or a meeting that's sort of in the lobby of their home, because we did a lot of engagement at the Horn Towers lobby on the first floor, for instance, or at some Lake Street businesses and neighborhood groups. So you get a different you definitely get a different demographic at various types of events.
Yeah, no, I've been attendee at many of those events.
Yes.
Over the 8-month period, or however long it's been, a year-long period. I do appreciate the work that has been done. It's been really detailed and targeted, but this whole green space conversation is a little new to me, particularly with the Minneapolis Parks being a partner. And I think a part of their, based on your comments, is part of their business model, for lack of a better term, is to lease the space out to someone else.
No, they would lease first floor commercial space from a property owner, if that makes sense. So just like if there was a restaurant that wanted to lease space on the first floor of a mixed-use building with multifamily housing above, if there were a dress shop or a coffee shop or a dentist office on the first floor, they would sort of be lined up like that and have a space that they would lease from the property owner or operator of that building that would be adjacent to the park. And then it would have open hours, public restrooms, which we've heard a lot of, and also if this were a successful model, which they haven't yet implemented anywhere else, so it's a brand new thing that they will still need to do research on, to whether they think it's possible for them to succeed with this, but would also provide some servicing for youth or young adults.
Right. I mean, I've been in conversations with groups like the Boys and Girls Club, who is considering
Yes.
A potential South Side club at this new Nicolet / Kmart site, which I imagine would be, because they're currently in a Minneapolis park, which is directly across the street from my home, which I would be sad to lose the Boys and Girls Club in my community, but would welcome a new expanded Southside Boys and Girls Club if it were to materialize. But, the conversations with the park board and other entities, I just get a little concerned. You guys are not going to talk about the public works piece here, because I'm hearing from my constituents concerns about whether there will be vehicle access on the new Nicolet, the reconnection, which is the whole point, I thought, of this whole thing, is to reconnect Nicolet Avenue. And I'm hearing about promenades and pedestrian, et cetera. So is there vehicle access? Because I'm not on the Climate and Infrastructure Committee, so I won't necessarily get that report until some point later. Can you address that question?
Yeah, so Kelsey Fote is the Public Works Planner who will be presenting the recommendations for the concept layout at CNI this Thursday. That agenda just was posted by the clerk's office a few hours ago today, so is available for the public to view. And it is recommending, we had 3 concepts for the public to respond to in the public space framework, and they had 4 when it came to the new Nicolet concept, and they are proposing, or staff are recommending one of those 4 that does have both a northbound travel lane for all-purpose vehicles and a southbound travel lane for all-purpose vehicles.
Including transit?
Yes, so transit, taxis, Ubers, regular cars, truck traffic, deliveries, all, yep.
So vehicle access.
Vehicle access, yes.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. It's been a really long day, but I cannot leave without saying thank you to both of you for the presentation. It's been very helpful, and I wish the best of luck. It's a complex project, and you're doing a great job. Thank you.
I echo that and appreciate the questions from Councilmember Jenkins. Thank you so much for the work, and I'm going to be happy to move approval of this. I thought, I'm chairing today. I'm going to get us out of here, in and out real quick. No such luck. But okay, so I move approval of this item, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay, and that item is approved. Thank you all again, and thank you all for bearing with us on this very long committee meeting. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.